हॅलो, आज आपण पाहणार आहोत कन्स्ट्रेंट्स. मेन टॉपिकला हात लावण्याच्या आधी आपण कन्स्ट्रेंटसाठी कोणत्या ॲक्सेसरीज आपल्याला गरजेचे आहे ते पाहणार आहेत. कन्स्ट्रेंट समजून घेण्यासाठी रिजिड बॉडी काय असते ते सर्वात आधी आपण पाहू. आफ्टर दॅट व्हॉट इज डिग्री ऑफ फ्रीडम. आफ्टर दॅट व्हॉट इज द कन्स्ट्रेंट. देअर वी विल गोइंग टू सी definition of constraint and some example to understand how the constraint is explained or how they could explain on the basis of their behavior. After that, there are types of constraint. There are many types of constraint, but within those types of constraint you only have holonomic constraint and non-holonomic constraint for your exams or for your syllabus. So we will see or we will discuss different types of constraint, but in detail we are going to discuss holonomic and non-holonomic constraint. So let's start. Rigid body. As name suggests, rigid means something compact. So it is something made up of particles, number of particles. Let's say that there are n number of particle or there are n particle system. If that system is compactly arranged, or in better words, if the distance between those particles is not changing so much, then we say that the body is rigid body. So there are some characteristics of rigid body. First of all, obviously it is made up of particle, so it must have mass. So rigid body have mass, it have definite volume, and it have definite position. So that is the rigid body. It is opposite to the free particle. You know that there are some particles in air, but they are not compactly bound, so they are not the rigid body, they are the free particle systems. Obviously there are also constraints for free particle system, but we are not discussing that right here. Our main objective of this chapter is that what is the rigid body and how the constraints are applied to that body. After that, as I said, it have definite mass, it have fixed position and frame of reference. So it is a rigid body, so its center of mass is fixed point, and on the basis of that fixed point we can assume some coordinate system, and on the basis of that we can define the position of that system or the position of that rigid body. Now let's discuss what is degrees of freedom. So degrees means something number, and freedom, you all know that freedom means something that we can do without someone else's pressure. You are free to do something, that is freedom. So degrees of freedom, what it is actually, that we are going to see here. So let's start with coordinate system. There are three types of coordinate system. You all know that the first one is Cartesian, then spherical, and then cylindrical. Cartesian coordinate system have three coordinates, that is x, y, z. Then spherical coordinate system also have three coordinate, that is r, theta, phi. Here the angle shown here is phi and the angle is here is theta, and this radius from the center is denoted by r. Similarly, we all know the cylindrical coordinate system. Instead of phi we have here h, the height from the center or the fixed point, and again we have theta somewhat here, and obviously we have r here. So that is the cylindrical coordinate system. Now if I say that what is degrees of freedom, so the equation of that is 3n. What is n? N is the number of particle in that rigid body. So the degrees of freedom is simply the multiplication of 3 into n, and to be frank, it is for the non-constraint system. If there is a rigid body and there are no constraint on that system, then the degrees of freedom are given by this formula, which is 3 into n. Okay, so those are the degrees of freedom. how this 3n came, so let's discuss that. As I told you earlier that these are the coordinate systems, and each coordinate system require 3 components to describe a position of a particle. For example, in the Cartesian coordinate system you require x, y, z. In spherical coordinate system you require theta, r, phi, and in cylindrical coordinate system you require r, theta, and h. So in each system you require 3 coordinate. Now let's consider that if I have point here, to describe this point I will require 3 points, that is x, y, and z. But what if there is one more point here? Then to describe this system I require 6 points, that is x1, y1, z1 of first particle and x2, y2, z2 of second particle. So here we have 2 particles, that is n is equal to 2, and by our formula we have 3 into 2, that is equals to 6. So it means that if there are 2 particles, there are 6 degrees of freedom, means it can move in a 6 independent direction, comparing the 3 coordinate of each of the particle. So similarly, if there are some complex system and there are number of particles, then there are degrees of freedom given by 3 into n. If there are 100 particles, then the degree of freedom is 300. Likewise, so that's how this formula came. Now let's discuss our main topic, that is constraint. So what is constraint? Constraint, as name suggests, it is something resistance or restriction. If you see the actual meaning of constraint, that word in your book, then you will find that the constraint means it is the restriction or something that opposes the movement. So the definition of constraint is like that: restriction to the motion of a particle or system of a particle is known as constraint. And because of this, the formula for degrees of freedom is modified, and that is like this: for a system which don't have constraint, the degrees of freedom are given by 3n. But if some system have constraint, then its degree of freedom is given by this equation, that is 3n minus this factor, that is equation of constraint. If there is one equation for the constraint, then whatever the value 3n have, we have to subtract 1 from that value. Now let's see this in detail. There are some systems. First system have only 1 particle, second system have 2 particle, and third system have 4 particle. So let's start with first system to understand what is constraint. So this is a circle, 2-dimensional, so obviously I can write it in xy plane. This is my x coordinate, this is my y coordinate. You all know that the equation for circle is x square plus y square is equal to r square. Now what if the particle is constrained to move along the circumference of the circle? What does it mean? That we are giving the restriction to the motion of a particle. Particle is allowed only to move on the circumference of the circle. So if I want to guess the position of that particle, what it could be? If I have one coordinate, that is x coordinate, let's say it is here 2, then if I want to find out what will be y, then I can find out that by this equation. I have to put x coordinate here, then if the radius of a particle is some constant value, let's say 5, then I have to put that here, and by rearranging terms or by taking square root, I can find the value of y. What that will be? That will be y is equal to under root r square minus x square. Okay, so if I see number of degrees of freedom for this particle. This is 2 coordinate system, so I have 2 into 1, that is 2. So the degree of freedom for this system is 2. But now I have this equation as a equation of constraint. So I have one equation of constraint. So what will be the degrees of freedom? As we modified our equation, that will be 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. What will be the degree of freedom? 1. What does it mean? It means that by only one coordinate we can define the other coordinate. So degree of freedom is only 1. Or to say that in a spherical coordinate system, r is constant, only phi is constant, only changing term is this theta. So the what is degree of freedom? Degree of freedom is 1, and which is theta. Only this particle can only move in a theta direction. So the degree of freedom means in which direction it can move, that is one direction, and that direction is theta. Now let's modify it for two particle. This is xyz coordinate system. Here I have one particle, here I have two particle. To describe the position of first particle, I will require x1, y1, z1. Similarly, to describe position of second particle, I will require x2, y2 and z2. But what if the distance between these two particles is L? Then we know that if I have some fixed x1, then obviously my x2 will be x1 plus L. Okay, so it means that we can define our constraint as x2 is equal to x1 plus L, and by this we don't have to describe coordinate as x2, which can be obtained by the value of x1. So 3 into 2, there are 6 degrees of freedom initially, but here we have one equation for constraint, that's why 6 minus 1, and now we have 5 degrees of freedom. The sixth degree, which is x2, that is automatically going to change. Similarly, I can define it for this system. It have 4 particles, so it is kind of homework for you. You have to find the equation of constraint and tell me what will be the degrees of freedom for this system. This is your homework, and you have to comment it and tell me what will be the degrees of freedom for this system. Okay, so that was all about degrees of freedom and what the constraint is. Now, types of constraint. On the basis of the nature of the restriction, we can define a constraint in many types. The first one is holonomic, second one is non-holonomic, there is conservative constraint, there is non-conservative constraint, bilateral, unilateral, and there are many more. So as if you observe, there is something in its name which gives us the type of constraint. For example, this conservative. Conservative means something is conserved. So in this case, the energy is conserved. If there are some constraint by which the energy of the system is conserved, then we say that the constraint is conservative constraint. If there is energy is not conserved, then there is no non-conservative constraint, there is bilateral constraint and unilateral constraint. It is depend on the motion of the particle. If the particle is allowed to move only in one direction, then it is unilateral constraint. If particle is allowed to move in two directions, then it is bilateral constraint. We are not considering other constraints because for syllabus you only have these two constraints, that is holonomic and non-holonomic. So let's discuss it in detail. The first one is holonomic constraint. So definition of holonomic constraint is constraints equations which are possible to write in following format are known as holonomic constant. It means that if there is some equation and that equation you can write in this manner, then that constant is known as holonomic constant. There is also one more term, that is time. So q1, q2, q3 are the coordinate. If it is three-dimensional system with only one particle, then it is x1, y1, z1 and t. If there is n number of particle, then it is x1, y1, z1, x2, y2, z2 and so on, and at the end there is time. Okay, so now to understand this, let's discuss the example we have seen earlier. This example, this is a type of holonomic constant. What constant we have applied for this system? That is x square plus y square equal to r square. That is the equation for a constant, and also it is the simple equation of a circle because the particle is moving on the circumference of the circle. So I can write it as x square plus y square minus r square equal to 0. So there is q1, there is q2 and there is one more coordinate. We can say that it is q3. The combination of all these coordinates is equal to 0. So let's again see our definition about the constant. If we can write some constant in this form, that is function of some coordinate and that is equals to 0, then the constant is holonomic constant. So in exam you can give this example, that is this one circle. You have to write the equation for circle. You have to show that the function of the coordinate is equals to 0, and that's why this type of constant is holonomic constant. There is one more example. Let's say this rigid body here have x1, y1, z1 coordinate and this have x2, y2, z2 coordinate. So the constant will be that this first particle is moving in circle, so the constant for this particle is x1 square plus y1 square is equal to r square, but this time the r is changing. If this second particle goes down, then this r will be less, and if this second particle goes up, then r will be more. And what is the relation between those two? That is the length of the string. So likewise we can have two constraints here. First constraint is for the circle and the second constraint is for the radius or the distance between two particles, that is equals to L, which is length of the string. So likewise we can again write this system as a function of coordinate and that is equals to 0. So this type of system is also holonomic constant. So next, non-holonomic, as it suggests, it is non-holonomic, means whatever happens for holonomic, it does not happen for non-holonomic. For example, the definition is easy. Definition is like this: constraints equation which are not possible to write in following format are known as non-holonomic constant. So this is the equation. If there is some system which I cannot write in this format, then that constraint on that system is non-holonomic constraint. Let's see example. The same example, a particle on a circle, but this time we allowing that particle to move inside the circle. Okay, so what will be the position of that particle? Think. Okay, so the answer is this. Equation for this is x square plus y square. It has to be less equal to r. If it is inside the circle, the position is less than r, and if it is on the circumference, then the equation is x square plus y square equal to r square. So the particle follows this equation, that is, or our constraint follows this equation, that is x square plus y square is always less or equal to r square. In the initial case it was equal to r square because the particle was on circumference, but this time this particle is allowed to move inside the circle. That's why the position of the particle is always less than r square, less than or equal to. Now what happens? If we rearrange, we will find that x square plus y square smaller or equal to r square. Here we cannot write it in the form of some function equals to 0 because here we have less equal to sign, and that's why, as we described in our definition, that if a function we are unable to write it in this form, then that is non-holonomic constraint. What happens here is x square plus y square less equal to r square. Here we have equal to sign and here we have less and equal to sign, so we cannot write this equation in this manner, and that's why particle moving inside the circle or on the circumference of the circle is an example of non-holonomic constraint. There is one more example. Let's consider a coin. That coin is vertically placed on the ground. So this is my x coordinate, this is my y coordinate, this is my z coordinate. Now if I consider this point as a P, then the maximum height that point can achieve is the diameter of the coin. But if this particle slides, then this point can come here or can come to the ground again. So the constraint equation will be for the particle is that z is always less equal to the diameter, that is z less equal to the diameter. Again, we cannot write this example as a some function of coordinate equals to 0, and that's why this is a type of non-holonomic constraint. So in exam you can explain non-holonomic constraint by these two examples. So that's it for today. Hope so you understand. If you have any query, write me or you can call me. Thank you.